Chapter 15 to 16. A few months later, a month left until MC turns 9. Something grand has happened in the Shandia tribe today. Amon, the new gen descendant of Kalgara, had challenged Viper, the current gen descendant, who's also the current leader of Shandora warriors. However, this wasn't a normal challenge for a duel. Rather, it was a battle for the position of the leader. In a world where strength mattered the most, the stronger one would always rule over the weak. The Shandia tribe was still a tribe in the end and still had the backward system so similar to beasts. To take a territory, one had to simply defeat the leader. While any member of the tribe could challenge the leader, it was not very common, and no one so young as Amon had ever done so. There were 7 days left before the Battle of the Throne. 5 days before the battle, Amon was training hard in his room, with Riki cheering him on from the side. To be more specific, he was planking with a small boulder over his back. For 2 whole days now. This wasn't that serious like last time. Nonetheless, it will help his endurance. He hadn't even slept even a bit, and only Riki was there to feed him, while he kept at his plank. He knew that there was no danger greater than underestimating the opponent, so he trained hard. However, a completely different scenario was taking place at Viper's place. He had heard people say that Amon was strong, and while that might be true, his mentality was along the lines of, how strong can an 8-year-old be? With this in mind, he went. From what he heard about Amon's strength, he knew the kid was strong. However, he was confident in beating an 8-year-old child without training all day. For that reason, he was just eating all he wanted, not showing any concern for the duel. 3 days before the battle, Braham, the son of the sharpshooter of Viper's team, also the best new-gen sharpshooter of the tribe, was fixing his damaged pistol. As many things were going inside his head. /N, he isn't an OC. He is the guy who almost defeated Zoro in Skypiean arc. People call me the best sharpshooter of my generation, however. That's not the complete truth. He sighed. I can't call myself the best, where that guy is still there. After a moment of silence, he continued to think. I've been training with these handguns of mine from the age of 3, on the ways of sharpshooting, my father's fighting style, he thought, as his grip on the gun tightened. Yet, I can't find myself feeling proud of this, since me, who's been training on sharpshooting from 3 years of age, has never been able to defeat that kid in sharpshooting ever. Braham's hand shook. I knew he had something called mantra, but that doesn't mean that his shots should be that precise. Nonetheless, instead of taking his losses offensively, Braham took them as a challenge and trained hard to surpass him. But it's such a pity that he challenged that monster Viper. Yes, he is strong, but Viper is stronger. Braham reckoned. It's like comparing a 40-year-old Viper to an 8-year-old Viper. The winner is quite easy to guess. 2 days before the fight, Viper was in his room, but it wasn't a hut like Amon's. Rather, just a tent bigger than most. The reason being, Amon inheriting the hut from his deceased parents. However, Viper wasn't that lucky. Currently, he was biting his nail with an anxious face. It's coming. I can't believe he did that, he said. Fuck, why did he challenge father? He is my rival. He shouldn't have aimed too high. Viper wiped his sweat. Ha! Just when I actually started to respect him a little. He had to ask for death. Now, I won't have any reason to grow stronger. 1 day before the fight. You have to father, Ise shouted on top of her lungs. The tribe chief sighed hearing her.
Listen, Isa.
Even I, the chief, don't have enough authority to stop this duel, he said with all seriousness. This is a way to choose a new leader, and has been acknowledged from the distant past. We can't deny the orders of our ancestors. Ise was trying to convince the chief to stop the fight. She believed that Amon will definitely die if he fights Viper. Since to her, Viper was a monster who could do anything, except getting back their land. I'm even pregnant. What is the point of this if Amon dies? Will I have to tell my daughter about her dead brother's story then? Ise broke into tears. Sigh. The chief sighed. Even he didn't expect Amon to act this way so suddenly. The day of the fight. General POV. Amon was fully aware of the mindset of everyone. However, he didn't care about it in any way. He was sure that he would win. Bwahahaha. Currently, he had to stop his thoughts, because of the aggressive beast-looking guy in front of him. Brat. It's been 100 years since something like this has happened. The last time someone challenged my great-grandfather for the rank dash. Shut up, Amon yelled. Enough of your TED Talks. Instead of that loose mouth of yours, why don't you use your fist? Amon interrupted Viper, trying to enrage him. Veins popped up in his head, as he was too easily angered. Though he didn't know what TED Talk meant, he felt insulted, as that was enough for him to dash towards Amon. Fine. Since you are so bored with life, I will give you a fast death. I will break your ribs first, he said while dashing towards Amon at a terrific speed. The The surrounding people were simply surprised by Viper's speed. After all, since this duel is a tribal ceremony, the participants were forbidden from using any dials, the weapons that originated in the sky. Here, they could only depend on their own body's strength. Yet, Viper's speed was so fast that people almost didn't see him move. Seeing Viper rush towards him at that speed, even Amon was caught off guard for a second. But as Viper's fist was about to hit Amon in the chest, he crouched down swiftly, evading the attack. Well, he's been fighting for all of his 40-years-old life after all. So, of course, he is this strong. While crouched down, Amon thought. However, this is nothing. But the surprise wasn't big enough to make Amon regret his decision. Targeting towards Viper's chest, Amon swung his fist at a terrifying speed, as the punch was about to hit his rib cage. Bam! Break my ribs? Look whose ribs are breako. This was unexpected. Unlike how Amon believed, Viper wasn't sent flying with broken ribs. Instead, he caught his attack midair. Heh! Didn't expect you to be this strong, brat. Viper said with a mocking smirk as he flung Amon in the air and jabbed a punch towards his face. Amon could sense the attack coming, and if the attack hit him, he would be leaning towards the losing end. But being midair, he didn't have any ways to avoid it. Except, of course, Jeppo. Puff, surprising everyone. Amon jumped in the air. What? But he doesn't have any shooter in his feet. The audience's reaction was filled with shock and surprise. As similar to the audience, Viper was also surprised. Ignoring them, Amon backflipped midair, landing a bit far from him. Viper frowned and narrowed his eyes. He might have to get serious now, as he prepared to rush towards Mao again. However, Amon didn't care about Viper attacking him. Rather, he dashed towards him at a speed faster than what Viper had shown before. Whoosh! Disappearing from the sight of people, the next moment he appeared in front of Viper, with his kick moving towards his face. Bam! Hugh! Viper's nose broke and his face became bloody, as he took a step back while groaning. Amon smirked seeing this. Everyone was too surprised to even react, however, the next moment Viper chuckled. What an incredible speed you have. However, you shouldn't have let your guard down. Without any prior warning, Viper rushed towards the caught off-guard Amon and kicked his head from the right side. Bam! Amon shielded the attack using his hand. However, he felt pain in his bone due to the impact. Amon released a nervous smile seeing this, and then used Soru. Whoosh! He literally vanished from everyone's sight, as even Viper was hardly able to see him. However, even at that speed, Amon didn't have any problem seeing things because of his observation haki. Moving at that speed, he attacked Viper in all his weak points, as Viper could do nothing but defend. Gah! Getting hit on his solar plexus, Viper vomited blood while holding his stomach. But Amon didn't give him any chance to regain composure, as he then went for an uppercut. With another bam, Viper was sent flying, as Amon stopped attacking for a while, being out of breath. However, soon Viper got up while wiping blood from his face. He was injured, but those didn't seem deadly at all. Listen, kid, Viper slowly said in his deep voice. I've been fighting on the battlefield for more than 40 years now. These types of injuries are... He smirked while looking at Amon, as he stretched his body completely fine. They are nothing. His injuries, especially the places with bruises that had become purple, returned to their original color. Amon's eyes grew, but he didn't lose his cool. He doesn't seem to realize, but that's like a subconscious Sai-mai kick-in, Amon thought. However, you will still go down today. Huff! I'm quite surprised, uncle, but today you're done, Amon said while huffing. Amon wasn't tired, yet he was taking deep breaths. It was only to fool the enemy and make him make a move.
Brat, Viper yelled.
I will now show you true strength. The fish took the bait as Vipit rushed towards Amon at full speed. Hiya! Viper was rushing towards Amon while carrying back a punch and shouting like a beast. That moment, Amon looked as if he was just standing in his place, too surprised to even move. However, unlike what the normal eyes saw, the reality was different, as from the moment Viper started talking, he's been preparing a kick all along. Viper's fist came close to Amon's face, and to the general audience, Amon was sure he would lose the battle if he got hit. However, just when people thought it was the end, Amon moved. Triple kick. Before Viper's punch even got the chance to hand on him, he twisted his waist and kicked towards Viper's chest. Bam! Though to the normal eyes it was just a kick at a fast speed, in reality, Amon had already kicked Viper 3 times by then. Crack! In the next second, Amon's leg completely crushed Viper's ribcage, as blood came out of his mouth and he was sent flying into the southern part of the village, crashing into trees. However, while Amon's leg landed on his chest, Viper had caught it already. So, not only him but Amon was also flown there. Boom! It was around 700 meters away from the battle spot, but Amon along with Viper was flown there in less than 5 seconds. All the audience started to run towards that place, and when they arrived they saw something horrific. Let me through, ugh. Struggling Isa came out of the crowd, but her expression froze seeing the spectacle in front of her. Amon. Let me through, ugh. Struggling Isa barely came out of the crowd. Wadash. However, seeing the scene in front of her, her eyes grew up as her expression froze. Asterisk gulp asterisk. Sa gulped seeing the bloody and injured body in front of her. She was not sure if he was alive or not. Amon. The body was Amon's, as she ran there and crouched down by his side. Ashi. Amon, wake up. Isa was shaking Amon's body, but there was no response.
Hey, Isa.
Suddenly, the chief's voice flowed from behind her. Amon is fine. Check it, he is still breathing. He is just exhausted and unconscious. Hearing this, using her slight medical knowledge, she quickly checked his breathing and blood vessels. Foo! She released a sigh. It seems she was just too agitated to notice that Amon looked completely fine except for a few injuries. But those were not deadly at all. He was just exhausted and went unconscious. Hey! The chief shouted once more from behind her. Ignore Amon for now, we need you here. Hearing him, she looked back as her expression froze for another time. This time, the reason was Viper, but she didn't know if referring it as Viper would be correct. Ignoring this for a second, she called for the wrinkled lady, the same lady who was there at Amon's birth. And after her arrival, she handled Amon's limp body, instructing her to take him to his room. After that, Isa diverted her full attention to Viper, as her hands flinched in fright. While Amon looked completely fine, Viper wasn't the same. As even from the outside injury, his crushed throat, and the footprints on his broken ribcage, one could tell that this was a critical situation. Sa wondered, was this really Amon's doing? Was he always so strong? Without much delay, she took Viper to medical care Oswell. Though with that type of injury, she wasn't sure if Viper would live. Oh! A few seconds ago, bam! Amon's leg hit Viper in the chest, as he was about to get sent flying. However, before getting flung, Viper caught Amon by his legs and took him along. Thus Amon was also flown towards the southern part of the village. On the other hand, Amon wasn't surprised that Viper caught him. In fact, it was his strategy to get caught by him in the first place. He knew just sending Viper flying far wouldn't have done any damage to him. So, he decided to tag along, planning to deal great damage in that instant. Likewise, while flying towards that direction, in the small span of 5 seconds, Amon removed Viper's hands that were holding his leg and held them tightly by pulling them towards him, making him unable to use his hands and resist what Amon was about to do. In that small duration, Amon had already placed his left foot on Viper's throat, while putting his right one on the chest. And since Viper was already injured by the previous impact, additionally since he was flying at an incredible speed, he couldn't even open his eyes fully, let alone struggle. For that single moment, Amon was riding Viper like an airbike. And by the time Viper was able to open his eyes, he was already about to hit a giant tree behind him. Boom! The impact didn't hurt Amon at all, as he got covered by Viper, as his legs crushed many of Viper's bones. Gah! He wasn't even able to puke blood since his throat got severely crushed. Now with his throat and ribcage crushed completely, he inevitably lost consciousness. On the other hand, Amon was completely fine and he seemed ready to fight another round. However, as he sensed the people rushing towards his place, he knocked himself out by slamming his head on a tree. It was better to be unconscious instead of answering too many useless questions. Asterisk. 3 days later at night time, General POV. Past 3 days, the Shandya tribe went through a silent period. Everyone was serious and concerned about their 2 best warriors. As currently, in Viper's hut, he was laying on his bed with a neck collar on. Though these types of medical luxury were rare in this tribe, it wasn't non-existent. Viper had a hollow look in his eyes, and some people might even think that he's in a coma. But he was, in fact, alive and thinking completely fine. I still can't believe I have lost to a kid, he thought with unbelief. Though he did take advantage of that special situation, it's still my loss. He was even able to injure me to this extent. Viper's headache got worse the more he thought about it. Ugh! And I'm smelling something too. But soon, his eyes gleamed with resolution however. I'm a warrior, he thought. Even though I lost to him, it's not impossible to get my position back. Viper thought as he recalled his hard days in the battleground. I'm someone who has lived with injuries all along with his life. For someone like me, I would just need a few more months, and everything will be completely healed. Viper was right. As unlike the normal world where people would have died in this state, in this world, Viper even had possibilities to heal. More surprisingly, this type of thing was no miracle in this world. Thinking about that fateful day a few months later, where he will kill that kid, Viper chuckled internally since he can't do it literally. Sniff, sniff. But Suddenly something strange caught his nose. He tried to guess what it was, while not long after, green gas started to enter his room. This sleeping gas? As an experienced warrior, he was able to guess which it was the moment he smelled it. Is this an enemy attack? I have to warn everyone. I can't fight in this state right now, however, that kid can possibly save the tribe. I have to do something. If he was not injured, this type of gas wouldn't have done much harm. It's slowing getting me. However, in his current state, his body gave up without a fight. K himself. You are up, Amon said as he again looked ahead. Looks like the antidote worked. Mumbling, he kept walking. Viper started to struggle as his muffled voice entered Amon's ears. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't form any words. Amon ignored him completely as he walked towards a certain detection. He was currently in the upper yard, and unlike when he was 7, currently he was walking through the forest as if it was his backyard, though he was still avoiding every living being. For now. You see, just a few hours ago I spread a strong variant of sleeping gas all around the village using sleeping gas. So, unless I provide the antidote, no one will wake up before 3 days. Amon said in a cold voice. So, don't expect any hero to come to save you. He looked back at Viper's eyes with his rosy red eyes. If someone from God's militia saw him now, he wouldn't believe this was a child, partly because of his completely emotionless face, along with his blood-red eyes. Rather, seeing this, they will most likely run the other way. After this, Amon kept walking with Viper being pulled by while colliding with the ground. His legs were on the two sides of Amon's waist, while he was holding and pulling them using his hands. A few minutes passed and Amon finally stopped beside a big tree. He stopped at this exact point because this place was a bit isolated, being covered by large trees from all around, and partially because Amon didn't sense anyone close to this place. Thud. Stopping here, Amon threw Viper in a tree, as he hit the tree and fell on the ground, while blood started to flow down his nose. Then Amon slowly walked towards him, as Viper's eyes started to shake. He wasn't scared of death, a warrior should never be. However, he knew today he wouldn't just die a normal death. Amon came close to him and crouched down, now at his eyes level. Then staring at his eyes for a while, Amon suddenly chuckled. Hey uncle! Saying this innocently, he then started to laugh while holding his stomach. Haha. Wait. Haha. Let me catch my breath. He was laughing as if he had gone mad, while Viper looked at him as if looking at a monster. After a moment, Amon stopped his laugh abruptly while wiping a single drop of tear from the corner of his eyes. Anyway, as if changing personalities, his expression changed. Now he was wearing an amusing smile. Hey uncle, do you have any idea why I'm doing this? Viper didn't answer, rather he couldn't. Instead, he just glared at him, making Amon know that he still had a little will to live inside him. You know, this is kind of not so fun, Amon said as he got disappointed for not being able to hear his voice. Maybe he shouldn't have destroyed it that severely. But it is done what is done. Viper became confused hearing him. I don't understand, he thought. Is he here to kill me? Or just make fun of me? Veins popped up in his head. This little bastard. If I can get out of this, I will definite dash. If I'm able to get out of this alive, I will definitely kill you, Amon said. Is that what you are thinking? Saying this, he again started to laugh. Ha ha ha. Such similarities in our thoughts. Viper was surprised at his first line, but the latter made him just confused. Similarities? The hell is this kid saying? Ha ha ha. Alright, I'll stop. Amon stopped laughing as he said, You must be confused at my words, so let me help you recall things. Saying this, Amon slowly and carefully removed Viper's neck collar, to not hurt him in the process. Then, standing over a high ground, he grabbed him by the neck, raising his body up. Wawagon! Viper howled instinctively, as he felt as if someone was tearing apart his throat. After all, his throat was already crushed, so it's like adding oil to fire. Soon, Amon's hand got clad in blood from his throat. Amon just ignored this. Do you remember now? Then Amon said in an aggressive voice. Around 8 years ago, just like this, you were about to choke me to death just like this. Hearing him, Viper recalled that day, the day where he almost killed this kid. How does he remember? However, he was surprised by how he could recall things from his birth. Don't think too much, Amon said in a fake concerned voice. You were gonna die anyway, so just enjoy your last moments, alright? He then pulled his face closer and gazed at his eyes. Enjoy your last moments filled with pain. Amon then tightened his grip on his neck, as Viper's mouth widened in pain. Arg! Whoa! Ignoring his groans, Amon took out a few tea bags like packets, the packs which were filled with spices and salt. However, these were developed by Amon especially for torture. Then using his unrestricted hand, He shoved all the bags inside Viper's throat. Aga! The first second, everything was nice, things hadn't gone too far. Arg! But the next moment Viper screamed in pain, as not only his bloody throat but even his insides were burning. Haga! God! Ayujichin! Viper yelled at the top of his lungs. However, he wasn't able to form any more words, as blood started to fill his mouth, and he was almost about to choke. Bam! However, Amon didn't have any plans to let him die so easily, as he need him in the solar plexus. Gah! Viper spat out all the blood, surviving barely. However, soon he would regret why he didn't die just now. A few hours later, gah! Amon kicked Viper on the face as he spat blood. Well, this is enough, Amon said, as hearing this Viper looked at him with pleading eyes. They weren't asking for forgiveness, they were begging for death. The pain was too much for him. His insides were literally burning. Haha, don't worry uncle. Even though I hate you, I'm nice enough to accept this wish of yours. After all, I'm a weak-hearted child, Amon said. However, sorry to say, but I can't take your life by my hands. Amon wiped his imaginary tears. But the next moment he grinned maniacally. You do not need to worry. Amon then took out a packet of poison and slowly entered it in Viper's mouth. This will fulfill your wish soon enough. Viper groaned. This time it wasn't spicy, instead it was sweet. However, it was still painful. Just as Amon did this, Viper heard loud footsteps coming towards here, with people talking.
Yes.
Those sounds were coming from here. God's militia was here. At that moment, Viper only had one thought. Would it have been better if I killed him back then? I heard it when I was patrolling around here, but I didn't have the courage to see it for myself. One of the God's militia said. They were in a group of 30. As soon they reached the spot where the groans were coming from. It's her, prepare for battle. It's Viper. Just as they arrived at the spot, they recognized Viper and dashed towards him all at once. They weren't sure why he was laying down, however, thinking that this is just him letting his guard down. They all attacked. Ha! Everyone all at once. In an emergency, they didn't even realize that the Viper they were attacking, he was already dead.